Hey everybody, it's Joel from 8400 Lights, and today I thought I would give you an updated behind-the-scenes tour of our 2025 light show. So I thought we would start here in the garage with the control center for the light show, and this is the laptop that I use to run everything. It's running Lightshow, latest version of that. I have a Sound Blaster audio card that plugs into a USB port. Has my audio cable here. Runs over to an old car stereo that I use to drive some of the speakers that I have outside, and I'll show you those in a moment. This is powered by a 12-volt power supply here. And then I also have my radio transmitter here, which just plugs into the output of the car stereo so that I can take advantage of the bass and treble and equalizer controls here and have that piped out to my radio channel. And then this then connects out to an antenna that I have outside that I will show you. So it has an external antenna to it. So the entire show is run right from this setup right here. Now behind a curtain in my garage window, I have this small LED matrix panel. This is just a 2x2, fit nicely into this space, but makes a nice little electronic sign I can use to display different messages. And this is actually driven by a Raspberry Pi. Again, it's small enough that a Pi was a good choice for this unit here. And then I just keep it behind this towel / curtain to keep the garage light from shining out into the yard if I'm out here working in the garage at night. And that way it doesn't backlight my sign. This is the main power for the show. I actually have an electronic timer right here that I can program to turn my main circuits on and off when I would like, so my circuits aren't live all the time. This controls two dedicated 20 amp circuits that I have installed. And then also I have these two gauges here, which I have set that can tell me what the power draw is on each of my circuits. So with the show running right now, I can see I'm running between 3 and 4 amps per circuit. So that's pretty evenly balanced, which is what I want to see. But that's a nice little feature that I can keep track of my power draws. Next we'll go to the west side of my front yard and start here with a row of mini trees that I have. And these are just simply tomato cages with some lights wrapped around them, and they are connected to an 8-channel LOR controller. So again, just standard AC. Behind that I have a what I call mini pixel tree sitting here. This is about a 5-foot tree, has about 12 strands of pixels on it. One of the things I did do this last year is I had been reusing the frame from an old prop, but I rebuilt the frame this year. You kind of start to see that center pole out of 3/4 PVC, or not PVC, sorry, 3/4 EMT. To give it a little bit more strength, and then built this bottom unit here that it connects to, and then again used 3/4 EMT to bend into a circle. Bottom. And then to help keep these strands in place with the wind, you can see here, I added these screws on either side down here. And then I've got my straps being tensioned by a small bungee cord. And we'll see if that works this year to keep those from blowing around in the wind. One tip that I learned the hard way last year is we had a really bad windstorm. I did not have these secured down on 4 points. So I rebuilt the top of the hook head this year out of a couple of pieces of 1/2-inch plywood glued together, along with a plastic cap here. And then also put in a top bolt and have secured that with 4 anchor points. So this tree is not going to blow away anywhere. Moving on, this is one of the trees in the yard that I have gone ahead and wrapped in lights. These have 8 channels of lights wrapped on them, so I can get some basically fire stick type motion effects on them. And here, if we come around this way, you can see here one of the pipes that I've created as an aid to wrapping the trees. This just basically allows me to wrap lights back and forth in almost a zigzag pattern, rather than having to go all the way around the tree with my lights, which just saves a bunch of time. You can really see it when I'm either putting lights on a tree or taking them off. So it's a nice time saver. Down here is one of the bins that I put all of my electronics in. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I like to put my electronics in a weatherproof type bin like this, simply because in the climate I have here, we can get rain, we can get snow, we can get sleet, we can get beautiful sunshine like today. So it helps, especially when I go to take apart the light show, if they're in another weatherproof container, and then I can do some things with my connection. We'll take a look at this. Now, one of the things I did this year is I bought some new bins that have these latches on the sides. The old bins tended after a few years just to have snap lids, and the snap lids were blowing off in the wind, so I had to put weights on the top. So this year I bought a bunch of these new bins with these snap lids. So we'll go ahead and open this bin up, and inside we have one of my LOR controllers. This is a 16 channel controller here, so it has 16 individual circuits. Half of this controller is dedicated to the mini trees, and half of it is dedicated to the one tree trunk that we just looked at. It kind of does a fire stick type prop. Now with Lightorama, you have a data signal. You can have in and out that has to be daisy chained on your controllers. One of the things I did to save a little bit of cabling of my controllers is, because the LOR signal only needs 2 out of the 4 pairs of a Cat5 cable, I actually made this little kind of muxing unit here, if you will, to where this is the cable both coming in and going out, and then it just kind of loops to this controller, and then from this controller back through this cable and back over to the next set of controllers, which I will show you. And basically all that does is, rather than having to run 2 data cables to this, one for in and one for out, I can save a cable run and run all of that signal across one Cat5 cable. So that's kind of nice. The next big prop that I have here are this set of 5, they're most commonly called fire sticks. These are about 10 feet tall, each with 8 channels on each fire stick, wrapped with LED lights. On the top of each fire stick is a 3-channel star that uses rope light for each one of the stars. So there's 15 stars up there on top of my 5 fire sticks. This is one of the yard speakers that I have, along with one of the inflatables in my yard. We still have a few inflatables in our yard. We kind of like some of them. So this is a little penguin we've had for a number of years. These are the bins that contain the electronics for the fire sticks. You can go ahead and open this one up. Snaps off. Again, here is just another of our Lightshow controllers. But again, we see some of my muxing, if you will, components here that I have built, where this is the incoming line from the previous controller we just looked at. Again, to controller and from controller, so that I can loop that signal without having to run an extra wire. So that's what's in this one. Alright, so let's go ahead and open up this bin. And it has a couple more of our 16-channel Lightshow controllers. But this one also has, if we open this up, a smart remote for some of my pixel props, which I will show you in a moment. So this is a 5-channel power supply here, coupled with a smart remote and a fuse block. And then again, I have some more muxing components here, where I have split a signal across a longer line, which I will show you in a moment, to be both control for my Lightshow system, as well as, I called it DMX, but it isn't really DMX. It's the signal that drives this smart remote here. So right behind the 5 fire sticks, I have a set of pixel leaping arches. And there's 4 of these leaping arches in this particular set here. These are pixel strips inside of this PEX tubing, and it works out really nicely. These are connected to that smart remote that I just showed you. Coming up on the front of the house on the west side, I have a pine tree here that's got some lights on it. Some landscaping with some lights on it. Another small bush here. This is another bin for a controller. Open this one up. It houses another one of those 16-channel LOR controllers, as well as a radio that I use to drive the speaker that I showed you just a minute ago, as well as another one that I will show you on the roof line in just a moment. So this is another radio that I use to drive my audio. That controller then drives these 2 props here. I've actually got these brick supports for my front wrapped with lights. This is the back side. There's 8 channels in each one of these brick supports, so there's 16 channels here total. Gives a nice little effect. Coming on the front, again, here's a tree with some lights on it, as well as we have this landscaping here that I put lights on as well. Across the front of the house and around the ridge line, I have added all of these lights. So there's 16 channels of these icicle lights that wrap my entire ridge line around the entire house. So you can see that there. We'll see some more of that in just a moment. Along the front of the house, again, I have the ridge line wrapped in these icicle lights, but I also have 8 LED floodlights. There's one of them. 5 are pointed down towards the ground, and then I have 3. There's another set, one of which points upwards. It's one of 3 that points up. There's another pair along with a Santa face that I have. So I have a little singing Santa face that I can program. Again, some more of the ridge line there with the icicle lights. Some more of the floodlights that come all along here. And then on the left and right sides, I have these two wreaths that just have some red and green LED lights on them, 2 channels. Nothing too fancy, but there's one there. And then there's one on this side. Here are those brick supports from the front side. So they look like that. Again, 8 channels each. So we have 16 individual channels here for some nice effect. And then these are just some topiaries that provide some continuous light. Moving on now to the west side of the front yard. This is one of 2 larger electronic signs that I have. This is a 3x3 pixel matrix that I have built and use as electronic tune 2 sign, as well as I can do different messages and displays on the sign. Come around here to the back, open this up, I'll show you the inside of this. It just has this back panel. So we'll just go ahead and lift up this panel here in the back. And you can see here, this is run by a BeagleBone Black as its main component, running FPP player. Some of the wiring, fuse blocks, internal power supply, and then it connects to a color light card to actually drive all of the panels themselves. Because of that, I actually have 2 separate networks coming out of this. I have one network here that connects to my network where all the signals come into, and then this is a separate network that just drives the color light card. Like I said, this is one of 2 of these that I have. The first year I did this, I drove both of these signs off of one BeagleBone controller, which you can do, but you need to be aware that when this communicates to the color light card, it does so by broadcast traffic, not by unicast or direct IP traffic. So this color light card here does not have an IP address. It just listens for traffic. So that can cause problems if you have all of this on a single network. Plus it also doesn't really give you the ability to drive each sign independently. And I decided I wanted to be able to control each sign independently, so I changed it last year and put another BeagleBone and controller in my other sign so that I can use them individually and do different messages on each sign. Continuing around, I have a couple of stars here in the front yard. I actually put some lights on my mailbox, so some lights there. And then I have these 2 Marty fans in my front yard. This is one of them here. They are 8 channels per, so they give a nice little effect. One's red, one's blue. Built a frame out of PVC for those. And then those just connect to a 16 channel LOR controller. I also have another one of those 5-foot mini pixel trees here. The bin that's right here is just the power supply for this particular pixel tree. But this one is just like the other one on the west side. Moving further back, this is one of 5 candy cane spinners that I have. These are just candy canes that I have attached into a frame here that I built. These are EMT pipe clamps for 3/4 inch pipe. Work perfectly to secure these candy canes. And then I just have them on this pole here that I drive into the ground. So they sit right like that. And then here I have another electronics bin that contains the controllers I use for the Marty fans, as well as this candy cane spinner. And then again, I've got some lights on this landscaping urn here. Continuing on the west side of the front yard down through the west side of the side yard, I have this second set of leaping arches. In this case, I actually have 8 leaping arches. These are exactly the same as the leaping arches on the other side, built the same way. Basically pixel strips run off of 2 different ports out of a Falcon pixel controller. So they kind of look like that. This is one of the older style bins that I use to put my electronics in. This one I use simply because it fits the pixel controller a little bit better. But again, one of the reasons that I tend to use these types of bins is, you can see I've got some power connections in here, as well as I have a little Ethernet switch in here for my pixel controller down here that then also connects to my Legal Blackbone in my Tune 2 side. Again, because I have to cross my driveway with both signals for my pixel controllers and signals for my Lightshow network, I went ahead and built this kind of splitter that takes, again, I live DMX, but it's really my pixel controllers, but takes my Lightshow signal and my pixel signal and consolidates those onto a single cable here. That cable comes out and runs across the yard, runs up the side of the house, and then it runs across the front of the roof there, all the way over to the other side and down, and then to my components on that side. So this was a way that I was able to get that signal across without having to have any wires on the ground. But here is my pixel controller for all of my leaping arches and my 2 pixel trees in the front part of the yard. So we have our power supply. Again, this is a Falcon pixel controller, and then a power block. Now some of the ports come off of this. Here I've got 3 of the ports that will drive my 2 sets of leaping arches, and then also the pixel tree that we saw just a minute ago. Then I have this remote expansion here that takes the signal for the other ports and runs it to that smart receiver that we saw on the other side. Now we'll start to come down the west side of the yard here. I've got a little prop up here, a house prop. Right behind that is one of 4 different speakers that I have outside. It's driven by that radio we saw earlier in the garage. I have this little puppy prop here. There's some more electronics back in the corner there by the house, along with another one of our candy cane spinners. You see some more of the lights there on the ridge of the house, as well as I have a Happy Holidays sign. There's a large wreath that's there, as well as a sign that says Season's Greetings. See that? Going down, I've got a little snowman. A little snowflake I just pre-built. And then I have this set of floodlights. These are RGB floodlights. These are just dumb RGB. There's a set of 8 of these that come along the side of the house that I can use to color wash the side of my house. Here is another one of my outdoor speakers. Come down these floodlights. There's another set of our bins that contain our electronics, along with another one of our candy cane spinners. Come back this way. Right underneath this wreath is the matrix that we saw the back of in the garage. So that's my small matrix there. Keep on coming down. Again, some more props. A little polar bear cub, a couple owls. Here's a tree with some lights on it. Some other smaller trees with some pine cones, lights, more owls. This little prop here, or box I should say, if I open that up, is actually one of those little LED lasers that projects a dancing Santa right up onto the side of the house. So typically don't use a lot of this kind of stuff in my light show, but I thought this was kind of cute and works out well. So I just built this little box for it to keep the snow and rain off of that component. So here we have another of our candy cane spinners. Here's another one of the inflatables that we have in the yard. Again, another prop. Here's another little puppy. As we come back up this way, this is another tree trunk that I have wrapped with 8 channels of lights. Down here you can see the bin for that. That contains the controller for these lights here. And then up in this tree itself is the antenna that I built for my radio station. So if you look on my channel, I do have a little video on how I built this antenna. It added tremendous amount of range and clarity onto my radio station versus using just the little antennas that came with the transmitter. So I highly encourage people to do this, and it really was not that hard. But then, rounding out this part of the yard, I have this little set of 8 snowflakes. These are all blue. Again, they're just LED channel snowflakes. Nothing special, but have them on one of my controllers and can do some fun kind of chase things with the snowflakes here. So, moving into the backyard now, I have this little hippo prop here, along with another one of my speakers for when I pipe music out. The speakers are nice for people that are walking by in the afternoons and the evenings, that they can hear the music as well, so you don't have to have a car or some kind of radio receiver, that they can enjoy it as well. And during the day I have a radio station that I will use to play holiday music, so that again, if people are out walking, they can enjoy a little holiday cheer. These are 2 larger pine trees. Here in the back I have wrapped with lights. Again, this is another one of our blow-ups that we have. And then we come down to this set of little mini trees. You can see the controller and electronics are there for these mini trees. This is a set of 16 mini trees put in a line. Again, these are just all lights wrapped on tomato cages. Except these are pretty much all white. And my wife likes white lights, so I did this for her. Those make a nice line, can do some fun chase effects. This is the second one of the large Tune 2 signs here in the backyard. So I've got a electronic sign in the front yard, electronic sign on the side of the house, and then an electronic sign here in the back. These are all independent. I can control them independently now and do different messages at different times, which is what I tend to do. Here is our street sign that I have actually taken and wrapped in lights. These are, again, to make a fire stick, 8 channels of lights on these. And then I have these 3 pine trees here that are wrapped in lights as well. Again, 8 channels per pine tree for a nice fire stick type effect. And we have 3 different colors. We have a blue, a red, and this third one is green. I like that. Again, more controllers. Here we have another blow up. This one is a sloth blow up. People seem to like this sloth blow up quite a bit. It gets a lot of fun chuckles and stuff. So continuing on in the backyard, this is the last of my speakers, kind of pointed outward there, again to provide some nice musical coverage. And behind that is one of our large pixel props that I call the Cube. And this is basically a set of 36 clear PVC tubes that have a string of pixels inside of each tube, arranged in rows of 6. So there's 6 rows of 6 on this particular prop, which is why I call it a cube, that produces some really fun different pixel effects that you can do with that. So here is the bin that has the electronics in it for the cube pixel prop. So if we open this up, again in here we can see that we have a little Ethernet switch that drives both the cube controller as well as our large Tune 2 sign in the backyard here. And then underneath that we have the controller itself. Open that up. Again, 5-volt power supply, a couple of different fuse banks. That's a very large fuse bank. And then we have our Falcon controller. So out of this Falcon controller here, we have 3 ports that are running our cube prop, and then we have a little 2-port expansion card in this that drives our smart receivers. One of the sets of smart receivers drives the first pixel tree and the star, as well as all of the pixel props on the deck. And then the second one here drives pixel trees 2 and 3, as well as the pixel fan, which we will show you in just a minute. And then here we have a snowman. This is about a 4-foot tall snowman. This year I put some new rope lights on him to give him a new look. So he has a nice bright fresh look this year. This is one of the trees that I have wrapped in lights. So there are lights going all the way up it. We move closer into the house. We have another one of our candy cane spinners. Again, some landscaping things back here. These pots have lights on them. Even put lights on my air conditioner, as well as another string of, or another set of RGB floodlights. If I didn't mention it before, these have all been 10-watt RGB dumb floodlights that I use to wash the side of the house. And they continue along in here underneath our deck. So there's more floodlights along here, and those continue on the side of the house. This deck is supported by 2 different posts. This is one of the posts here, again wrapped in lights. There's 8 channels of lights on this particular post, as well as if we come to the other side, there's 8 channels of lights on this particular post. So again, a lot of fire stick type effects with these. And again, these are just LED lights. A couple more blow-ups. Everybody loves Baby Yoda. So Baby Yoda, we have a squirrel down here. We have some more electronics and bins here for different things. And then this is the spiral staircase that goes up to the top of our deck. It is covered on the outside with 8 channels of icicle lights that spiral around it. It gives a really nice cool spiral effect. I don't know that I will ever replace these icicle lights with anything else just because of the very kind of cool effect the icicle lights give us. The center post of this spiral staircase is again wrapped in lights as well, 8 channels as well, again to give another fire stick type prop. And then on the rail of this staircase is some PEX tubing that has some pixel strips in it. So this pixel strip comes all the way up here, and I can do some fun effects with this whole pixel tubing. And onto the top of the deck. On the top of the deck, again, we have more of this pixel tubing here that I've created for the top rail. It comes all the way down here. And here we have more electronics with different controllers in it, as well as this is all of our wiring that goes up to our roof line for all of the lights that trace across our roof line. We also have a large blow-up Santa on the deck here that is waving to everybody. So he's a little fun addition. As well as lights on the front of this deck rail and on these deck posts themselves. The deck posts are just one single set of lights. They're not multi-channeled or anything like that. But we've got some lights on the deck post. We've got some net lights. A little bit hard to see. We'll see if we can't maybe get a different angle here. We've got some strobe lights that wrap along this. See some more of the net lights. There's some icicle lights on this, both on the upper side of this deck as well as the lower side of the deck. We also have some bells on this deck. We're kind of seeing these on the back. We'll try to get a better view from the front of these from down below. But there you can see one set of the bells. And there's another bell here. And then there are bells over here. And one more set of bells here. It might be a little tough to see. And then you can kind of see a little bit of the view off the deck of what the backyard looks like. So there. Start to see my mega-ish trees, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And some of the other things that we have out here in the deck. Here's a view of the deck from below, where you can start to maybe see, we'll see, some of these other props on the outside, as well as some of the props we have underneath the deck. We have these icicle lights, we have some strobe lights. In the front here, we have some rain tubes. I need to add some rain tubes onto the side. That's one thing I should do. Again, some more strobe lights, some more icicle lights. Back up a little bit here. See some of the deck lights. Off to the side here, we have the last couple of floodlights. And these are our 10-watt RGB floods. These are dumb RGB, but they give a nice color wash onto this side of the house here. The next thing we have in the backyard are these 3 10-foot tall pixel trees that I have built. These have 24 strands of pixels on them. These actually started out as just regular LED spiral trees with a PVC frame that I then converted to 12 strands of pixels, and I didn't think 12 strands was going to be enough, so I upgraded them one year to 24 strands, and the 24 strands made a huge difference. But unfortunately the PVC frame was not going to be strong enough. It survived the 1 year, but I had serious doubts about it surviving another year. So last year I rebuilt the frame using this 1.5-inch EMT conduit as a center pole here. See, that goes up, and then that comes down into a base that is made of both 1.5 inch for the 4 square legs, and then bent some 3/4 EMT for my outside circle, and then just simply attach my pixel strips down to the base with these bungee cords here. You can see that seems to work fairly well. Had a little bit of an issue last year in that I did not secure this well enough with 4 points of tie down. I only had 2. Had a windstorm come up and just really tried to make a sail of this, and almost destroyed it. It was fine. So I decided this year, again, lesson learned the hard way, that I was going to make sure and secure this tree and all of these trees as 4 points of contact rather than just 2. The other thing I found is that the wind really tended to move these strips around, so this year I've added these little screws in here to try to provide some anchor points for these pixel strips as they come down. Also helps me know how to space them really evenly, and we'll see how this works this year. But the frame itself is incredibly rock solid and has allowed me to add a new prop this year, and that is my 5-channel pixel star. Try to get some shots of that there, and that is 5 different stars that are wrapped with seed pixels. So each one of the little white dots is an individual RGB controllable pixel on it that looks to be a pretty cool addition to my props this year. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully you got a good shot of this. We'll try to get a shot on the back as well. Come around the back of these. Now these are all 5-volt pixels. I tend to prefer 5-volt pixels. You have a lot of people that will use 12-volt pixels, but I've been using a lot of 5-volt pixels, which have their advantages but disadvantages as well. One of which being you have to do a lot more power injection on them. And to solve that on these particular trees, come in here, and at the top of the tree up here, hopefully you can see it, I had to add a little power distribution block. That, and then here is a shot on the top of that back of that star. Here is the bin that has the controller for this pixel tree. Looks like this. Again, all of these pixel trees are basically run off of smart remotes, off of a pixel controller from the Cube. So we open that up and we have our power supply. We have our first smart remote for the tree itself. Then we have a fuse block, and then a second smart remote for the star on the tree. Now there's a couple different ways you can do your pixel wiring, and I had started off with trying to basically put as many pixels onto a single output port as I could. And that's certainly a very legitimate way to manage your pixels and ports and your props. There's one flaw though that I really found with that, and that is that pixels are sequential units, meaning that if you look at the signal on these, if the signal comes in here and then it goes to here and then it goes to here and then it goes to here, basically up and down your entire tree. If something happens to this pixel here such that it goes bad and disrupts the signal, it can take out all of the rest of the pixels that are downstream from it. That basically means they'll stop working, and they won't work until you replace this pixel. So if you have all of your pixels on a single output port, you can lose a good chunk depending upon if you have a pixel failure, where that failure is, and can have a pretty big impact on your prop. What I have switched to this year is I have split these pixel trees into 4 segments and driven each segment with an output from my controller down here. So rather than driving the entire tree off of one output port off the smart receiver, I'm only driving 1/4 of the tree off the output port. So I'm using all 4 output ports for this one single tree. And again, same thing with this star up here. I'm using 4 output ports to drive the 5 stars. Now obviously one star has to share an output port, but that's better than all of the stars sharing an output port should I get some kind of a pixel failure. And I do tend to have a lot of pixel failures. That way, if I do have a failure, or when I have a failure, it doesn't impact as much of the prop as it would otherwise. Here is the second one of my 3 large pixel trees. Basically exactly identical to the first. I built all of these to be identical and basically interchangeable. And then right next to that, I have the third one. So again, identical and interchangeable to the other 2. But together, they make a really nice kind of triangular pattern with the way that I have these things spaced out here. So there's the one in front with the star on the top. Hopefully you can see that. And then I have the 2 trees in the back. There's that one, and there is that one. So right behind that is another new prop that I've added. This is its 2nd year now, and I call it my megapixel fan. So this is a pixel fan that is a little over, it's about 10 feet, well no, it's about 8 feet tall, sorry. That is made from pixel strips. It has 20 strips on it arranged in a fan and can produce some really pretty cool different effects. Again, we see the bin with the controller equipment in the back, driven again off of a smart remote from the Falcon controller that I showed you earlier that drives the cube. So in my display, I only have 2 Falcon controllers. One in the front of the yard that drives the 2 sets of leaping arches and the 2 smaller pixel trees, and then one in the back of the yard that drives the 3 pixel mega trees, this mega fan, pixel fan here, as well as all of the pixel props on the deck rails. So that's quite a bit for one little controller, but they're pretty awesome little units. But this is a really nice addition to my show. Again, this year I've divided this into, rather than being run off of one output port, I have split it up into 4 different output ports. Again, so that if I lose a pixel somewhere, it has less of an impact on the prop. Coming into the back of the yard, I again have a couple more trees that I wrapped. These are about 10 foot tall wrappings on these 2 birch trees here, split into 8 segments per tree. So again, some nice fire stick type effects. There's the controller for it. Surrounding this area of the yard is a little fence of just lights that I put up. These are just standard little LEDs. Nice little chain of LEDs. Just kind of makes a nice little boundary area. This is new this year. Added some lights to this particular pine tree. There are, again, 8 channels on this tree. Adds another fire stick effect. Next to that is one of 2 Marty fans. These are just like the Marty fans in the front yard. LED lights split into 8 channels. So we have that. This is just some net lighting that I had and put around this tree trunk for something a little different. So this doesn't have multiple channels to it, it's just the single channel, but it gives some nice color. Next to that is another Marty fan. There, again, identical to the other one. The last one was white, and this one is blue. And then I have another pine tree here that I've wrapped in lights. Again, 8 channels on this particular pine tree for a nice fire stick. Between these pine trees, I have some props that I've hung up. Here we have a shooting star, and then I have these snowflakes I've got here. So I actually have 8 snowflakes in an alternating up and down pattern, strung between these pine trees. And then I have another shooting star on the other end. These lights then come down, they wrap around this space, come around this way. Have a lilac bush here that has lights on it. And our boundary lights, or edge lights if you will. And our Marty fan. Look at our snowflakes that are suspended in the air, so that's kind of cool, I think. We've got a Marty fan, our snowflakes, shooting star, see our controller boxes, and then we end up, last stop on our tour today, with the large snowman that we have in our backyard to greet everybody. This is a prop that I have had for a number of years, and then last year stripped all of the lights off of it, refurbished the wire frame, repainted it, and then strung new lights on it using some rope light. And we got a few colors on this and made him look a lot better than he was. So he's got a new look to him. This is his 2nd year, and then as well this year I used to put him up by pounding a couple of metal stakes into the ground. That can be kind of tough in this portion of my yard. So this year I built this new PVC stand for Mr. Snowman. Kind of see here. This is totally collapsible, but it's just a nice way. A nice way to support Mr. Snowman out in the yard without driving any stakes. This is nice and lightweight and portable. So, there's Mr. Snowman. And another shot in the backyard, you can see Santa Claus. So I hope you have enjoyed this behind-the-scenes tour of our 2025 light show. Please visit our other videos on our YouTube channel, 8400 Lights, and if you've enjoyed this and like it, please subscribe. Thanks much, and have a great holiday season. Bye-bye.